Well, I certainly appreciate your coming here today on such very short notice and at the end of a very long week. I would not presume to have gathered you in this fashion had it not been for the fact that our church in the state of Connecticut is facing an unprecedented intrusion by the state legislature into its own internal affairs. Let me tell you what's happening. The Judiciary Committee of the Connecticut State Legislature, which is chaired by Senator McDonald of Stamford and Representative Lawler of East Haven, has just introduced a bill which I think directly attacks the structure of the Roman Catholic Church. What it basically would do would alter radically the parish corporations as they are currently structured. Currently, each parish is separately incorporated, and the members of the corporation include myself as the bishop, the pastor, a vicar general, and 2 lay trustees. In this new plan devised by the state, the parish corporation would be overseen by a board of trustees elected from the parish. And instead of being answerable to me on administrative and financial issues, the pastor would be answerable to an elected board. Similarly, even though I would be on the parish corporation, I would have no voting rights. This parish board would have virtually unchecked powers, not only to manage the day-to-day fiscal and administrative affairs of the parish, but also things like capital projects, the outreach that a parish might choose to do or not to do, and many other things besides. In other words, if this bill were to be enacted, your bishop would have virtually no real relationship with the 87 parishes. Okay, they could go off independently. Some of them could break off from the church if they wished and go their own way, as has happened, for example, with the Episcopal Church. And the pastors would be figureheads simply working for a board of trustees. You have to understand how radically this departs from the teaching of the church and the discipline of the church, and how gravely unconstitutional it is for a state to move in and to try to reorganize the internal structure of a church. It is a violation, a grave violation of religious liberty. This bill was raised in the legislature yesterday. We found out about this yesterday. Whoever has been working with the legislature to put this bill together has obviously been at it a long time, and they are very well organized and ready to go. Next Wednesday, this coming Wednesday, there will be a hearing. Imagine, we have a weekend and 2 working days to prepare to respond to this assault on our religious liberty. And so, on an emergency basis, we are going to try to mobilize the people of our diocese to demonstrate to the legislature, and particularly to Senator McDonald and and Representative Lawler that we have had enough. Enough. The idea is to make a strong showing at this hearing in two ways. First, we are lining up a very fine roster of witnesses. And secondly, we have to turn out numbers, big numbers. We have to turn out something like 1,500 to 2,000 people so that they recognize that their political future is on the line. They know no other language. The language of reason evades them. It's important to know that this bill was dropped into the hopper the day before the same-sex marriage bill was to be heard. This is a thinly veiled attempt to silence the church on important issues of the day, but especially with regard to marriage. It is also alleged that this bill was necessary because the church, it is said, cannot manage her own financial house. This is not true. And imagine, you all know what the church has done with regard to parish finances. You should be proud of that. We have a high degree of accountability and very careful management of our parishes and the diocese as a whole. By contrast, the state of Connecticut cannot close in this fiscal year alone a $1 billion deficit. And the story will never be told of the waste and corruption that exists in the government of Connecticut. So people who do not know how to manage are telling the church, which lives within its own means and provides more social and educational services than any other private entity in the state of Connecticut, and doing so at a time of recession, they're choosing this moment to go after us. It's laughable. It's disgusting. And so what we're asking you to do, basically, is to mobilize, to come yourselves to Hartford, if you at all can do so, and also to get the parents in your school onto this, and to encourage them to contact Senator McDonald, Representative Lawler, and the members of the Judiciary Committee. And certainly, I would really be grateful if you could, from every school, get a certain number of parents to show up. I think it's going to be extremely important that they recognize that when the church speaks on this issue, there are people behind what the church is saying. Statutes have an important role. I mean, people forget, people die, claims grow stale, people can make up things. And so, and again, it's the Judiciary Committee that is driving this to dismantle the church as best they can. So you have to understand that this is one part of a two-pronged assault on the church in this session. Our focus is almost completely on winning at the hearing. We got to block it in the Judiciary Committee Wednesday. What happens after Wednesday? Well, after Wednesday, after the hearing, at some point, then the bill will be voted on by the committee. If it is killed, then we should all thank our God and recognize that bills like this come up again and again and again. So we should really then proceed to put into place all the protections that we can. For now, what we are doing is to have contacted experts in constitutional law, in First Amendment issues, and people who understand also prosecution, canon law, history, theology, and also the people who oversee the day-to-day financial management of the church, to make the strongest array of arguments that we can against this bill, with a strong show of support at the hearing itself. Certainly, if this gets passed and then enacted and signed into law by the governor, we'd have to fight it at every level. And the only way we would be able to mount a court challenge would be after it became a law. I've asked the 87 pastors and the parochial vicars to read what I think is the statement that is before you, okay? That's going to be read from the pulpit and given out. The flip side will have the contact information and where you can find out how to get a bus ride, I guess. We can't get the buses really organized until Monday, but we're going to try to get that done. There could be overlap, but I've asked every pastor to get a minimum of 5 people from his parish, preferably to get 10 people or 20 people to go up there. And if there is a little bit of overlap, well, so be it. But I think between your list and the pastor's lists, I think we will swell the ranks. We're also asking the Knights of Columbus. We are asking the Knights and Dames of Malta and other Catholic organizations also to mobilize and to send people. I've asked Monsignor Di Giovanni, who was here today, to mobilize Stamford. Stamford has to be mobilized big time. Senator McDonald has to see the principals, the pastors, and a lot of faces that he recognizes. His constituents looking at him. And you got to get him there early enough so that he has a good look at you. You can't be in the overflow room. Our first goal, the target number 1, are the members of the Judiciary Committee, both the Senate and the House. If, God forbid, this gets passed by the committee, then, as Monsignor Doyle said, we'll have our hands full with the whole legislature, and that will require a much bigger and more massive effort. But what John Catalan also has is a network of parents. And so while you'll generate lots of parents, hopefully 30 apiece, maybe John can help do it in the rest of the state. We have a lot of things to drive home before the evening is over. But ladies and gentlemen, I love you as my fellow educators, and I thank you with all my heart for your strong support in this hour of our church's need. Thank you so much.